What's happening between the US President Donald Trump and South Africa? Let's begin by watching this clip.
We are witnessing the rise of nationalism, protectionism, the pursuit of narrow interests, and the decline of common cause. This is the world that we, as South Africa, a developing economy, must now navigate. But we are not daunted to navigate our path through this world that constantly changes. We will not be deterred. We are, as South Africans, a resilient people, and we will not be bullied.
While he didn't mention any bully by name, Ramaphosa's remarks comes days after the US President Donald Trump threatened to cut all funding for South Africa, alluding to the false narrative that white South Africans are mistreated by the post-apartheid South African government. Trump and his allies, especially South African-born billionaire Elon Musk, have ramped up their rhetoric against South Africa in an apparent reaction to a Land Expropriation Act 2024, a controversial law that was passed in South Africa aimed at resolving the long-running land ownership inequality problem in the country. The law has drawn criticism for supposedly risking and disregarding private property rights, particularly those of white South African minority, for it permits land seizures by the state without compensation. Here is what to know about Trump's issues with South Africa. On February 2nd, Trump posted on his social media site, Truth Social, that South Africa has been confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. He then continued to say that we'll be cutting all future funding for South Africa until the issue has been investigated and completed.
Aid from South Africa. Will you plan to cut aid across other African nations, and why South Africa?
No, it's only South Africa. Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
This is not the first time Trump is making such claims. Back in 2018, during his first term, he said he had ordered the then Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, to look into the claims of land seizures and killings of white farmers in South Africa. These comments echo a long-standing false narrative pushed by the right wing in South Africa that white farmers are being dispossessed of their land and are even victims of genocide. And this is where the incredibly controversial character, the world's richest man, Elon Musk, comes in. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1971 and left the country in 1988 when apartheid was still the thing. He has repeated the myth of the mistreatment of the white people in South Africa on multiple posts on X, including one in 2023 where he accused the left-wing South Africans of openly pushing for genocide against white people. Another one the same year saying they are actually unaliving white farmers every day. Is not just a threat. Ramaphosa has rejected Trump's claims, arguing in a post on X on Feb 3rd that the government has not confiscated any land. The South African president said that the new Expropriation Act is not a confiscation instrument, but a legal process that allows public access to land in an equitable and just manner. Musk responded on X asking, "Why do you have openly racist ownership laws?" Then, the government of South Africa said Ramaphosa called Elon Musk to dispel misinformation. According to the government, the law outlines how expropriation can be done and on what basis. The law allows the government to take in land or for a public purpose or in the public interest. The law mandates generally just and fair equitable compensation, but one clause states that the government may not provide compensation in certain cases, including when land is not in use and the main purpose is appreciation of market value, or when the land has been abandoned. Under the law, an expropriating authority or organ of state or person empowered by it or any other legislation should have first tried to reach an agreement with the landowner or right holder to acquire the property on reasonable terms. However, a property can be used temporarily without the need to reach an agreement if it is required on an urgent basis for public purpose or in the public interest. A history of land ownership inequality in South Africa. Now listen very carefully, because this is where it gets freaking interesting. Despite the official end of apartheid in 1994, South Africa is still reeling from widespread racial inequality in land ownership. A 1913 law forcibly removed thousands of black families from the land they owned, limiting African land ownership to just 7%, later revised to 13% in 1936. These quotas largely allowed white people to own large swaths of land while forcing the black majority into crowded townships. Racially based land measures were repealed in 1991, but according to economist John Kirsten and Wandile Silobo of Stellenbosch University, white farmers owned some 63% of land. According to a 2017 land audit, white people, who comprised 8% of the population, owned about 3/4 of the farms and agricultural holdings, while black South Africans only owned 4%. With that said, and Trump having cut the funding for South Africa based off this utterly ridiculous land ownership policy, now you know that if you're the umbrella in a relationship, you pray that the rain pours and never stops, lest you be dumped like a rat. But honestly, in this case, I don't think Africa should be the umbrella for anybody. If anything, we should be the boss. Okay? It's a wake-up call, and wake up, Africa must. Thanks for watching, and remember to share, subscribe, and follow, please.